Howdy, fellow bombers. So, lately there have been a lot of people new to the guild, and I just thought I would do a quick rundown on 10 easy things that you can do anytime without spending, any money, any gold, without having any experience, to make yourself instantly more effective and better at playing World vs. World. So, to get started, there are some settings that you should change if you're going to play World vs. World at all. First are the graphics settings. If you're running on anything other than super high-end computer, you will experience lag if you have the graphics up too high. The main culprits behind this are shadows. Turn shadows off. Make sure that reflections are turned off, and animations are set to low. Those are the three things that are going to cause the most lag. You can also turn anti-aliasing off, and then other than that, you're pretty much fine. You want to make sure that the character model limit is also set to low, because that'll cause a significant amount of lag if you're fighting a 6-man group and it tries to render them all at the same time. You're probably going to get some lag. And then also make sure to check the box that says Effect Limit of Detail. This is going to make smoke. If you've ever been running around and there's been a lot of explosions, like in PvE or something, you might notice that sometimes it lags a little bit. If you click Limit of Detail, it'll make sure that that doesn't happen. It's all those tiny little particles that it's trying to render. You want to make sure that those are not getting rendered as much. And then after that, just play around. The line of draw distance, it's not really a big deal, and just go with whatever are the default settings for your graphics other than those few things. So as far as the other settings go, now we're getting into part 2 of the settings. These are the most important settings to have. You want to make sure that melee attack assist is unchecked. Notice how the tooltip says it prevents you from running through your target so that you stay in melee attack range. That's great in SPVP, it really is. But in World vs. World, if you're accidentally targeting something and you're running through a group and there are bombs everywhere, you're gonna die because you can't run past them. You've got to uncheck this so that you can run past them and attack as you go. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to attack and you're going to be completely worthless as you're running around as a melee character or as a caster. It really mainly impacts the melee characters though. As a melee character, you should probably never ever ever have auto-targeting on unless you're doing small fights. But even then, you should probably keep auto-targeting off as a melee character. And this is just because if you have a leap or something and you're trying to get away from a group, or maybe you're stuck in a bomb and you want to jump out, if you have auto-targeting on, it's going to lock onto the nearest person and attack them and probably get you killed. Auto-targeting off, you can go wherever the heck you want with that leap, like the number 2 on the Warrior Greatsword, or the number 3 on the Guardian Greatsword, or the rush on the Warrior Greatsword, or the leap on the Warrior Sword. There are a bunch of different ones that it just helps to keep auto-targeting off. It helps to have a simple party UI. I'm not in a party, but over here, if I was to add some of my friends to a party, it would have their face, it would have all of their buffs, and it would cover up like a third of the screen. And if I'm casting AoEs or something, or trying to click on people or tab target, it's going to be in the way, and I'm going to be clicking constantly on their images, and it's going to say kick from party, leave party, block, add friends. Click simple party UI, it just puts their names and it shows what buffs and conditions they have. That's it. And so it saves a lot of space for you to move around and actually interact. Graphics, we went over that, auto-targeting, and that's pretty much it as far as the settings are concerned. The field of view, some people, casters, like to have maximum field of view. I can tell you from experience that that will cause your graphics to lag significantly if you're not running a high-end graphics card. You should probably keep that somewhere around the middle. And then rotation speed. I've noticed that Guild Wars has really low rotation speed If you turn that thing all the way up, it'll probably be much more responsive for being able to turn. I use the mouse to steer a lot, so it helps me to turn faster. I don't know why it's so non-responsive. If I turn it all the way down, it barely moves. If I turn it all the way up, it moves, but not as fast as I would like. So I just like to keep that all the way to the right. That helps a lot. And after this, so if you're new to World vs. World, you may be looking at the traits, the World vs. World traits, and saying, well, what should I get? There are two things, the only two things that you should really ever get is Guard Killer and Defense Against Guards. And so in order to max these out, it's going to take getting a lot of points. You're going to have to be like rank 200. But these are the most important because they give you stacks, guard stacks, which add 250 for the defense against guard. It's 250 vitality, which is a lot. That's like 4,000 health. And then 100 power and condition damage, which are pretty significant. And it turns mediocre builds that don't have a lot of power, are a little bit too glassy, into good builds that are just going to beat anybody. But because those take a lot of points, what you should go for first is Supply Master, and only get the first 10. So the first 4 traits is going to cost you 10 points. So all you got to be is rank 10 to get this. It's going to let you pick up Supply faster, which doesn't matter. But the main thing is that at 10 points, you're going to recover supply when you spend it. And that's very important. After that, you want to go for supply capacity, but I would recommend waiting to get supply capacity until you've maxed out the defense against guards and Guard Killer to get those stacks. 100 ranks, not going to be too tough. You play for about a month, you're going to probably get to rank 100, especially if you have birthday boosters or do Edge of the Mist a little bit. So these stacks, the most important thing you can get out of this entire tree. After that, get whatever the heck you want, but please get the stacks first. After that, you've got food. Right now we're just talking about if you go out and you just use a normal build, you know, you're gonna have, say, like right now I don't have any stacks or anything. I've got very little power, and I've got some high precision, but I can get power food because there's a hole right here. I don't have a whole lot of damage. I got high crit, got high health, got high toughness. I've got some critical damage, not a lot, but I mean, crit is more important than critical damage if you ask me. But I can fix that hole real easy by just eating some food. It just automatically gave me 250 power, and this isn't without any stacks. And I'm not even using expensive food. This is the crappy stuff that you can get for like a silver each and less for this. Food, it's super important. It just gives you the edge that you need, the little bit extra DPS, and I find personally that precision food is the most helpful because the quality maintenance oils, the ones that you can get for like a silver each, those add like 7 critical chance. And you just add on a sigil of accuracy and you eat some critical food, and you're going to give yourself a free 20 critical chance when you didn't have any before. Which is pretty decent, considering that means you can spec as tanky as you want and still have some pretty high crit, meaning you got some high DPS with a tanky build. So that's going to give you an edge. Having those guard stacks is going to give you an edge. There's also, you want to check out meta builds for your profession. You can run anything you want when you're roaming as long as you're good with it, but in groups there are some things that work well and some things that don't. For Guardians, it's going to be the Shout Guardian, and it's going to look something like this. Basically, it revolves around having altruistic healing so that you can use Empower and heal yourself to full, and using Shouts to give stability and stuff like this. and it's a little bit different for different people, but that's the Guardian one you're going to use. You're going to use Staff Greatsword, Soldier's Gear, Knight's Gear, you know, Berserker Gear, whatever the heck you want, but you want to get those shouts and you want to get altruistic healing. For warriors, it's going to be a shouts as well. Let's see if I can. For warriors, you're going to be running shouts as well. The runes for the Guardian are probably going to be Runes of the Trooper or Runes of Melandru. If you don't have enough money for those, just get some of those crests. They're really cheap. Just get crests of the soldier, just do the trading post search for it, and just use those until you have enough money to get Runes of the Trooper. Don't waste your money on any other runes, because you're going to want to save it up for the Runes of the Trooper or Runes of Melandru. As far as your traits go, it's going to probably look something like this. You want to get these shouts, you want to use the shouts, and you want to get adrenaline from the shouts, which is into discipline, get reduced recharge on the shouts. You want to always be using this war horn. That's so you can blast waters and heal your allies. It's also so you can remove, you know, cripple and chill when you're going through bombs, and it's also so you can get around places faster. You're going to want to use the main hand sword so that you can have Savage Leap to get out of bad situations faster, and so that you can engage. But I mainly use it to get out of bad situations. Like if there's a bomb in front of you and you know you're going to die if you even slightly touch it, just use Savage Leap. You'll go right across. Nobody's ever going to touch you. And then Doliac Signet, probably the best, you know, stability that warriors have. I think every warrior should be running Doliac Signet because it's 10 stacks of stability, and when you're not using it, it's giving you extra toughness so that you can be a little bit more glassy. You're also going to be running War Banner, and that's your main role as a warrior, because there are more effective classes you can play if you're not being warrior, but the War Banner is very important. And then, you know, use Greatsword or use a hammer. Greatsword is more survivable because you can dodge through stuff without getting hit. Hammer is a little bit, it helps more with DPS and CCs, but it does require you standing in bombs sometimes, which is going to get you killed if you're fighting big groups. So after that, we've got Necros, and their main job is going to be the DPS of the team. Necromancer's main strength is to cause damage. They have innate tankiness because of Death Shroud and some of the other traits that they have. But if you're speccing tanky as a Necro, you're adding to something that's already tanky, and it's like you are designed to do damage. One of the most powerful, not every Necro runs the same build, but basically what you're going to want to use is Wells and a staff with something else, like a dagger and a focus, or a dagger or something. The Wells add a nice bomb, especially if you have all Berserker gear like I have. And with food, you're going to have like 250 critical damage. You're going to be critting for, you know, 3,000 damage per tick on your well. But the main thing here is that I've got Death's Perception. So when I eat my food, my 70 crit food right here, it's going to put that right up to 50. So when I go into Death Shroud, I'm going to have 100 crit. So if I pop my wells, 1-2, Death Shroud, they're going to crit 100% of the time. Here's a little secret. Wells are unblockable. So that's unblockable, 100% crit damage, 100% crit chance with 250 crit damage. You're going to be killing people if they don't move. Not to mention, while you're in Death Shroud, you get Life Blast. It says it only does 890 damage. That's a lie. I know, because I use this every single night in World vs. World. You're going to be critting light targets for 6,000. You're going to be hitting heavy targets for 2,000 to 3,000. If you got weakness on you, it's only getting hit for 1,000, 1,500, something like that, which is still pretty high considering that it says it only does 800 damage. But that's just the power of the Necromancer. But you've got to be spec glass. If you're not spec glass, you're not going to be doing any of that damage. And as a necromancer, your ability to survive revolves around you staying close to your teammates, staying out of bombs, but staying close enough so that if something happens to you and you get downed, they can come and help you. You can use Lich or Plague form, doesn't really matter. Plague, more survivable. But that's the Necro's main job. They are the DPS of the team. They are doing the damage. After that, we've got Elementalists, who are going to always be using staff. Dagger is fine when you're roaming, it's fine if you've got a bunch of other staff Ellies out there. But your main job as an Elementalist is to use the staff and to provide some CCs and things. So, as an Ellie, you are most likely going to be wanting to spec into water so that you can clear condies, and this is just what I use. You can do a lot of different things. I think the two main requirements are to have cleansing water and blasting staff. Blasting staff is important for two reasons. It makes your waters bigger so that it's easier for people to hit them without necessarily having to stack real tight, so that if they're running around trying to dodge bombs, they can just hit that blast while they're running and hit that water and heal everybody. And it also makes your static bigger. The one downfall is that it makes meteor bigger, which does less DPS per inch that it hits on the map, but that's okay because nobody stands in meteors anyway. They're not very effective for hitting anything except for trebs. And having blasting staff actually helps them hit trebs better because it makes the meteors hit further back on the wall than where they would normally hit. After that, at the renewal, probably the best heal skill that they've got in my opinion, just because it basically clears you of condies, and it's on such a low recharge you can spam it whenever you feel like you're being pressured, and then you're going to use your cantrips to get out. I use Fiery Greatsword for escaping and also for adding DPS pressure, because as an Ellie you don't have a whole lot of DPS unless you're really spec'd for it, but adding the Greatsword does give you that extra DPS. Like if you feel like the enemy team is on their heels and you're pushing them, just drop that Fire Greatsword, you're going to add some pressure and they're probably going to go down. But, it's not all that helpful to have on 100% of the time, so not 100% required. And then after that, Mesmers, I don't have a level 80 Mesmer. I actually deleted my level 71 Mesmer recently, but their main job is going to be shattering and downing casters in one shot. And then the Thieves, they're most likely going to be running a Shadow Arts build, because they're going to be part of a gank squad where you're going to be going around getting casters and making sure that you get downs. You can start triggering downs so that you can beat the other team. Overall, Thieves are not that helpful in big groups, though. The most helpful build they can run is probably the Venom Share build, which is only moderately helpful. If you run the Venom Share build, you're going to have to run this type of weapon. It's called Givers, and you'll have to add a Sigil of Malice to it. And basically you want to get yourself up to about 40 condition duration, and then you eat some food. I think it's called a koi cake. I don't have one with me. And that'll get you up to around 100 condition duration. And so when you share your Venoms, the conditions or the freezing, the chilled, or the immobilized that you're sharing with your party members and with your allies, it's going to be using your condition duration instead of theirs. So you can just sit there spamming the short bow and having a very large effect, because all of the conditions that they're applying through the conditions you gave them are also helping. This is just my complete Berserker stealth that I use as a thief. The most important thing for you to know how to do is, as a thief, you want to have auto-targeting off. That's one of those things that we mentioned, but you've got to be able to spam that stealth. So learn your combo fields, learn how to stealth. The way I'm spec'd, I can only use Heartseeker through the black powder 3 times. That's not enough to stay in it permanently, because my initiative does not recharge fast enough. It's enough to help me be better in a fight so that I can have a break and heal up a little bit. The way to get permanent stealth, though, is you've got to take it out of the critical strikes and put it into trickery, and then you equip Signet of Agility, and you get the trait that gives you 4 initiative when you use the heal skill. And with that, you can spam Heartseeker and the Black Powder 4 times, and you'll get 4 initiative whenever you use Withdraw, and you'll just be able to sit there forever in a stealth. So if you're hiding in a tower, trying to res a dead Mesmer or something, or just trying to stay invisible all the time, you know, that's how you do that. And Thieves are good though, but they're opportunists. That's how they have to work. They're similar to Mesmers. They have to use the right opportunity. Mesmers generate weak targets. The Thieves are supposed to finish them off. And other than that, you know, NGs, I use Bomb NG, you can use whatever you want. There's not really a whole lot of meta surrounding Rangers and NGs as far as world versus world goes, just because they're not very good. They're good at roaming, they do fill specific roles, and they do those roles effectively, but it's negligible compared to the roles filled by Guardian, Warrior, Elementalist, and Necromancer. Those are going to be your top 4. So just use those builds that are the meta. Just search for Guild Wars 2 World vs. World meta builds, and you'll find it. It's real easy, and just, you know, you better like them, because those are the ones you're going to be using for a long time. After that, as a player, if you're playing in a group, you need to be partied up. As a Guardian, you need to be partied with some, you know, Necromancers or some Warriors, because they're going to need that stability, they're going to need those wounds. As a caster or a Warrior, you want to make sure to be in a party with a Guardian if you can, just because it prioritizes your party members as receiving boons, so that you're not just giving them to some up-level thief that's just going to die anyway, so that you can actually be effective as a team. Because if you're getting those boons and being able to survive longer, that up-level thief is going to be effective, because he's not going to be dying because you're killing them before he has a chance to die, in theory. And then after that, we went over stacks. After that, don't be a pug. Number one way to be a pug is to just log on and don't talk to anybody. You've got to download TeamSpeak, you've got to get in TeamSpeak. Find out the channel for your server, or at least the channel for your guild. Just log on and listen. You don't have to have a microphone, just listen. Be able to follow the commander's instructions, and, you know, have fun with yourself. And it is an adjustment, but just go in, make a nice account name for yourself. Make sure that requests that whoever is in your guild can give you permissions, so that you're not stuck in the lobby. And just, you know, sit and listen for a while. And then when you get comfortable, maybe you can get a mic and start talking. You don't have to do that though, but it helps, because there's a chat button in TeamSpeak where you can make call outs. Like if your garrison is being golem rushed and nobody's there, you can say in TeamSpeak, like 3 golems at, you know, garrison and home borderlands, and everybody's going to come there and they're going to say, well, they may not actually say thank you, but, you know, you saved that for your entire server. And if you weren't in TeamSpeak, what are you going to do? Say it in Mat Chat and hope somebody else says it? Not going to happen. That's the only way for you to communicate with other people across servers. It's the only way for you to actually listen to the commander's, you know, play-by-play instructions on where you're supposed to be moving, where you're supposed to be bombing. So TeamSpeak separates the pugs from the people who are actually going to be out there, you know, wrecking everybody else. And lastly, one of the hardest things to do, but the thing that's going to set you apart from everybody else out there, is key rebinding. When you first get the game, it's going to have all of your skills set up as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it's going to have WASD for movement, it's going to have arrow keys for movement. Basically, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 requires you to constantly be moving your hands back and forth between utilities and between your weapon skills. And it's very, very difficult for you to use a healing skill on time because it's all the way over here at 6. Just rebind your keys. If you have a gaming mouse, put them on your mouse. it'll take a long time to get used to that. But what I've done is, instead of having WASD, I steer with the arrows, and I rebounded all of my skills to, QWERTY. I've got a QWERTY keyword, so QWERT, and those are my weapon skills, and I put D right where my middle finger is going to go, so that as soon as I feel my health falling, I just tap that D and it's going to heal me immediately. And then I put weapon swap at 1, so my pinky just moves up 1, and all of my utility skills are above my weapon skills, so I just move my finger up to use my weapon skill, and my attunements are above it, so I just move my finger one up, barely up. I can reach all of my skills without moving my left hand. My left hand stays in the same position permanently. I have tab targeting for my pinky. It's right next to where my pinky is always. My dodging is on V, so I just tap that with my pointer finger. Everything is in range of this one hand, so I can reach everything without moving it, and so I can react. That's what you want. You want the reaction time. The one downfall I have to the way I have it set up is I have to move my right hand back and forth between strafing and steering. So sometimes I'll steer with the tank controls, which is up, down, left, right, but I can't move the camera. If I want to move the camera, I have to steer, and what I often do is I will use auto run, which I have bound to S, where my other middle finger can go real easy, and I'll just auto run. And I've learned how to steer myself auto running. Then you let go of, you hold both clicks down to steer, then auto run, and you can just keep moving around the camera without actually turning, and then click them both to steer whenever you're running through a Zerg or doing something high intensity. Let go to stop moving, you dodge, and then start using tank controls if you want the fine movement. But I find that generally I don't need tank controls. I don't need a strafe left and right. When you move backwards with like this, and when you move side to side, you actually move slower than if you're running straight forward anyway. And you'll find one of the ways to survive in World vs. World is to run in straight lines and be able to think ahead about where a bomb's going to be, so that you don't have to move side to side. If you have to move side to side, it's going to be clunky. You're going to get stopped, you're going to get CC'd. You got to try and think in straight lines. And I know this seems counterintuitive because in SPVP everything's dynamic and fluid and moving, but in World vs. World it's got to be straight lines because there's so much chaos and so much confusion. You got to think, here's a safe zone. I got to think in terms of a straight curve or a straight line or something to get there. I don't want to have to be moving in and out and backtracking. When you turn around and you expose your back to an enemy player, they're going to get an increased crit chance because your back is facing them. So moving backwards and side to side, it's not really that helpful. You just want to get places fast, which is why one of the best boons in World vs. World is swiftness. By the way, I'm just going to throw that in there. So those are the top things to make you a better player. Just sit down, do those things. It takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Just do them. You'll be a better player you'll be a better player instantly, because most people aren't going to do these things. So what we went over, main things are: turn off melee attack assist. Make sure that is always off. Never turn that back on. Turn off auto targeting if you're a melee character. Never ever have that on as a melee character. If you're a caster, leave auto targeting on. It's going to help a lot. Turn on simple UIs so that it's not constantly blocking where you're trying to click or go or target. Lower your graphics so that you're not experiencing as much graphical lag. Download TeamSpeak so that you're not a pug, so that you can actually communicate with other people and be effective. Rebind your keys so that you can reach all of your controls for skills with one hand and all of your movement with the other hand, so you're not moving back and forth and having to stop in order to use certain skills. If you have to stop to use a skill, if you have to stop moving in order to use a skill, you're going to die. Make sure you get your stacks. Those are under your World vs. World traits. Get the guard killer stacks and the great fortitude stacks. Those are ones that you get under your World vs. World traits. It's going to cost a lot of points, but it's the best use of your World vs. World points that you can ever have. It's going to keep you alive longer. It's going to make you more effective even if you're not using the best gear. Make sure that you have a stacking weapon. Use the stacking sigil on your secondary weapon that you're not going to be using most of the time, so that you can get stacks in the other weapon and then go out and just have a more effective sigil on the weapon you're going to use most of the time. Make sure that you're using food. This includes a wrench and a consumable food item. So a wrench could either be an oil or a sharpening stone or a crystal. I don't know who uses crystals, but maybe you're the type of person that likes condition damage. Make sure that you're using those and that you're using a food item and that they're both relatively high-end, as high as you're willing to go. I'd say 1 silver is acceptable for a food item. If you don't have a lot of money, I would stick with that. If it says level 75 or higher, that's probably okay. And then even the quality maintenance oil or quality sharpening stones, those are fine too. You don't have to go get the 5 gold ones that are barely any better just by a mere nth of a percent. You don't need those to be effective. It's just enough to give you that little bit of an edge. And a little bit of an edge, we're talking about like hundreds and hundreds of stat points, especially when it comes to precision and power and toughness. Check your meta builds. If you're a guardian, warrior, elementalist, or necromancer, you need to be running a meta build, because you're going to increase your effectiveness on the battlefield. And make sure that you're in a party. It doesn't have to be the best party comp or whatever, but make sure you're in a party. Make sure that you're providing support to allies that go down. Make sure that you're staying close to each other, and ultimately that through TeamSpeak you're following the instructions of the commander. So that's everything. Easy steps, anybody can do them. It'll make you instantly more effective, and these are secrets that aren't all that secret, but nobody tells it to you when you're in the game. It takes other people having learned from experience. And if I could go back and had someone give me this list, it would have made me 10 times more effective today, just because I wouldn't have had to go through the painful process of having to deal with these things again and again. So good luck out there, and I'll see you on the battlefield.